I get it when a small business or a warehouse is finally ready to move beyond the handheld label makers you've been using for years. The decision feels huge. You're staring at a wall of options, each promising faster throughput, sharper barcodes, or a plug-and-play setup that won't eat up your IT team's time. The last thing you want is to drop a few $1,000s on a printer that ends up collecting dust because it's too finicky or because the labels keep smudging after a single scan. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk through why the Zebra ZT610 might be the right fit or why you could keep scrolling. First off, the ZT610 is built for the kind of industrial environment where you've got temperature swings, dust, and people moving pallets all day. It prints 4-inch wide labels using thermal transfer technology, which means you never have to buy ink cartridges, just the ribbon and the label stock. That's a big cost saver over time, especially if you're printing thousands of tags a week. The high-resolution 203 DPI engine gives you crisp, readable barcodes that survive the wear and tear of a shipping dock, and the touchscreen LCD makes menu navigation feel more like a smartphone than a factory floor device. In real terms, I've seen a distribution center that switched from a lower-resolution model to the ZT610 and cut their label reprint rate from 8% down to under 2% because the barcodes finally met their scanner's minimum contrast requirements on the first try. Setting it up is where a lot of the plug-and-play promises get tested. Out of the box, the printer comes with a quick start guide that walks you through connecting the power, plugging in a USB or Ethernet cable, and loading the first roll of ribbon. Most users I've talked to say they got a basic label out within 20-30 minutes, which is impressive for an industrial machine. The real benefit shows up when you start configuring the label formats. Because the ZT610 runs Zebra's PL, Zebra programming language, you can pull label templates directly from your ERP or WMS, and the printer will interpret them on the fly. For a shop that prints custom safety stickers, batch numbers, or compliance tags, that eliminates the need to manually re-enter dimensions every shift. The only catch is that you need someone on your team who's comfortable with a bit of scripting. The learning curve isn't steep, but it's not something a complete newcomer can ignore. Who should actually buy this printer? If you're running a medium to large warehouse, a manufacturing line, or a logistics hub where you print more than a few hundred labels a day, the ZT610 starts to pay for itself quickly. It shines for operations that need durability. Think of a cold storage facility where the printer sits in a low-temp enclosure, or a high-throughput sortation area where the printer runs non-stop for 8-hour shifts. The precision label accuracy feature is a lifesaver when you're printing regulatory labels that must line up perfectly with pre-cut label stock. It reduces waste and keeps you from having to manually adjust each roll. On the other hand, a small boutique that only prints a few dozen price tags a week will find the upfront cost hard to justify. A desktop thermal transfer printer or even a high-quality inkjet label printer would hit the sweet spot for low volume without the need for Ethernet networking or industrial-grade warranties. Speaking of warranties, Zebra backs the ZT610 with a solid durability promise that's meant to survive the kind of rough handling you see in a busy dock. The chassis is metal, the rollers are designed to grip without tearing the ribbon, and the printhead is sealed against debris. In practice, that means you can drop a label roll without worrying about the printer suddenly jamming. However, the same ruggedness brings a few practical downsides. The machine is sizable, about the footprint of a small desktop printer, but heavier, and you'll need to allocate a dedicated shelf or table. It also draws more power than a typical desktop labeler, so you'll want a reliable outlet or a UPS if you experience occasional brownouts. And while the lack of ink cartridges cuts ongoing costs, you'll need to keep an eye on ribbon inventory. A sudden runout can stall your line until the next shipment arrives, which can be a hiccup if you don't have a buffer stock plan. Another hidden trade-off comes with the connectivity options. The ZT610 offers USB, serial, and Ethernet interfaces, which is great for flexibility, but you'll need to decide early which one aligns with your network architecture. Ethernet gives you the ability to push labels from multiple workstations or servers, but it also means you have to configure IP addresses, possibly work with IT security policies, and ensure your network can handle the traffic. For teams that rely on a simple point-of-sale setup, USB might feel more straightforward, yet you'll lose the ability to scale without additional hardware. In short, the printer is as versatile as you make it, but that versatility demands a bit of planning. All things considered, the Zebra ZT610